For a long time, business success was measured by how many hours you worked. Early mornings, late nights, always busy, always available. But a new generation of business owners is asking a different question. What if the goal is not to work more, but to build better systems? So if you're trying to grow a business without burning yourself out, losing visibility, or creating more chaos than progress, this conversation you do not want to miss. Let's start it up. Hello, and welcome to Stack Startup Baltimore, where we talk with founders, operators, creators, and business leaders about the realities of building something. Today, I am joined by Crystal Baze Barney, CPA, founder of Journey Business Accounting. Crystal helps small businesses improve financial visibility, simplify operations, and make better decisions through stronger reporting systems and scalable workflows. Crystal, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well in yourself.
I am doing fine, doing just fine. When we did our little pre-podcast talk, we had a little bit of nasty weather, but today we've got a beautiful day.
Yes, it was terrifying.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself and about your business.
Well, hi everybody. My name is Crystal. I'm a CPA. I've been doing this for quite a while. Started out doing taxes and bookkeeping, and then grew into more financial statement accounting. And now we focus more on using your financials to build strategy and to help your company plan and implement systems to help businesses grow. Um, I am a mom. I am an employee, an employer, a wife. I am all the things. And so I really focus on streamlining my own business so that I can be all of the things to all of the people.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I don't know that many people who haven't tried to start their own business realize just how many different hats that a business leader actually wears.
Right.
Especially in my case, I'm a solopreneur, so I'm
Hmm.
I'm it. Solopreneur with about a dozen AI employees, but
Hmm.
yeah, to be a lot of those things in a professional and a personal life, you know, I'm sure it can be a little bit daunting.
Yes, especially when you have clients pulling and tugging on you. You have people that you are working with that can't seem to figure out how to do things independently. You feel like you have to keep your phone on so that you can respond to calls and text and emails because it's like you are your business and there is no separation. And as a solopreneur, that is a trap that a lot of us, even a business owner who's growing, that's a trap that we fall into where your business can only expand to your capacity. And that leads us to our topic for the day.
Yes. So we are talking about how modern business owners are able to build sustainable growth, which
Hmm.
even in the best of times seems, like a very difficult process. And I think what we need to do is we need to start talking about like the visibility problem with
Hmm.
businesses. And so why do you think many businesses either are or feel like they're flying blind?
Because they don't know their numbers. I'm biased, but it's true. Um, so you think about, oh, we could use this person to do this thing, but you have no idea how much that person is going to cost. You have no idea of any of the other inputs that that goes into that plan, like training or what does that position actually entail? What does it actually look like? Uh, you don't know is if the person is actually going to make you any money or if it's just going to be a cost. Like, is it worth taking on that additional role? And that all comes down to not having systems in place. And knowing your numbers is also a system. Everybody uses QuickBooks Online. That's a system. Like you connect your stuff, you code your transactions, and it tells you your revenues, your expenses. You can see where your money is coming from and where your money is going. But that's the simple way to look at it. When you're looking at like a person, um, especially bringing on a role, because how many times have you said I need help, but you bring someone in and they're just sitting there, and it's like where do I stop, and they start. What can I get them to do? Especially your first hire, your second hire. What do I trust this person enough that I can take my baby and what slices of my baby can I trust to this person? And that really comes from having your roles defined and planning and having some strategic thinking sessions ahead of time. Um, Having SOPs, the standard operating procedures, and like training documents already spelled out. So, me personally, uh, when I set up, when I started growing my business, I planned on separating out the bookkeeper, the staff accountant, a senior accountant, and a manager, and which roles would go to each of those job titles. And I would break down the steps of each client to those job titles. Now, it might only be one person performing all four titles. It might be split amongst two. But what it does is while I'm growing and taking on more, increasing my capacity, bringing on more people, I have all of the roles defined and I have the steps laid out for each part. And I have a budget in mind because you have to know your numbers. Never fly blind. So I have a budget in mind of how, and not just money budget, time budget, because time is our biggest asset. So how much time does it take to do the bookkeeping versus the review versus meeting with a client versus the follow up? Um, so yeah, when we're thinking about growing and just operating your business in totality, you have to think about the big picture and not focus on where your business is today, but where you want it to be in 5 to 10 years and plan for that.
Absolutely. And I think that is an art that has been lost in a lot of cases, that a lot of businesses, possibly even more of the legacy type of businesses, they're looking more for that quick dollar
Hmm.
to get them something today and not care about what happens in that 5 to 10 years. I really do think that a lot of businesses have lost sight on what the future could potentially hold. And is that something that causes a false sense of security, do you think? Just looking for that dollar and thinking, well, if I accumulate enough numbers without worrying about the big number, like you said, time. That is our
Hmm.
most finite resource. Money comes and goes, hopefully comes more than goes. But does bigger number sometimes give a false sense of security, do you think?
No,
No?
um,
Okay.
no. The reason I say no is because those bigger numbers actually bring more anxiety if you don't have your infrastructure put together.
Okay.
Um, the the small numbers, it's like, okay. if I mess this up, it's not that big of a deal. I'll try again. We can run that back. But when you start getting into the bigger contracts and the bigger clients, there's more on the line. Like if you mess this up, you could lose something. And when you don't have anything to fall back on, and you know the way life be lifing, somebody's gonna get sick. Somebody's gonna rear end you at the stop sign. Something insane is gonna happen just because life. And that big number without sustainable growth and systems in place will become anxiety inducing.
Right, because now you know you've got this pull, but if you don't have everything, you don't have your I's dotted and your T's crossed, that
Right,
you only have so much of that number to pull out of it in order to sustain yourself. No, that's
right.
actually, a really good, uh, and so it's not just what is in your bank account is your biggest KPI, your key performance indicator, correct?
Of course not. It's never okay. So cash is king. We know this, but cash flow is what keeps businesses running. So cash flow is your ins minus your outs in the
Right.
future. So you have to always be looking at tomorrow to plan your cash flows, to plan your business, to plan your life. Um, like when you buy a house, what do they look at? They look at your W-2, which is your money in. They look at your debt to income ratio, which is how much money you typically spend out for to pay off your car loan and whatever else you got going on. And that's how they determine how much house you can afford. It's the same thing with a business. Our revenues minus our expenses, but not just today, not just this project, not just this customer. How does this look next quarter? How does this look next fiscal year? And how can we sustain that growth or increase the growth? And the answer is always infrastructure, which is my words for building sustainable systems.
I will say it's funny you bring up the house aspect, because while they checked all of that for me when I purchased my house, the other thing was they looked at the calendar and saw it was 2012.
Hmm.
And house prices and interest rates were really good for me that at that point. So timing, I think, also does play an absolute factor into it. At the start of the pandemic, we were starting,
Hmm.
or not at the very start, but like, partway into the pandemic, we were starting to see like the rates drop. We saw a lot of inventory, and so the house values dropped quite a bit.
Hmm.
And then now we're here, and I don't think anybody could make the argument that this would be a good time to buy a house.
Well, I'm not here to lend my expertise on that.
Not
I have
financial advice, yeah.
opinions. Nope.
It
Um,
just makes it, looking at how things are right now, it does make it hard to say, and that's not to say people aren't buying houses, because I mean people
mhm,
still need a place to live, especially if they're just getting started and they have the means to do so.
mhm.
But timing does have an absolute factor in
Yes.
there.
So timing always matters. I was lucky enough that we bought our home in 2018, which was just before the prices skyrocketed, and we still got a pretty good rate. Um, but I also, yes, I timed when I entered the market. I went when no one else was there, and I went after foreclosure, um, just to make sure that we had equity as soon as we closed. But
Exactly. And even like going after foreclosure does have some risk to it, but can,
mhm,
as apparently is happening with you, a lot of rewards as well. So you just need to check your situation and
right.
all that. Now,
And forecast and pay attention to your numbers.
pay attention to your yes, yes. I think, a lot of people, get too deep into credit because it's so easy to find
mhm,
predatory creditors out there.
right.
Uh, and it seems like it's going to get worse and worse before it gets better. I myself have had not a lot of predatory creditor issues, but I am not 100% innocent in, being in dealing with predatory creditors as well.
Okay. So, do you want me to go down this road? Because I can give a whole lecture.
Oh, I think that it's been around YouTube a lot. I've watched quite a bit of Caleb Hammer.
Um, yeah. So, if you want my professional opinion
Again,
outside
not
of,
not not financial advice because that's not what this. Yeah, they need
okay,
to pay you for financial advice.
yeah, but this I give freely. Um, so the name of the game is OPM, other people's money. It is a very good business tool to
Yes.
leverage liabilities to create more assets, meaning to borrow money, to invest, or to build. To invest in yourself, to invest in your business, to invest in your infrastructure, in your systems, in your people. That's good business. Um, I always tell all of my clients, you want to build relationships with banks. You want a credit union account, period. First thing you do is you open up a business account with a credit union. If you can get a business card with said credit union, please do that. It's also good to know what banks in your region are really good for business loans. Open up an account with them. And then you open up your primary account, which fits the needs of your business. For example, if you are a cash-based business, you want to have a bank where there's one on every corner, or there's one that's very close to where you are collecting cash so that you don't have to walk far to make your deposit because ain't nobody got time for that. Um, but when you are banking, you want to do it strategically. You want to build relationships in order to acquire financing, and a lot of these banks have like really good small business programs. And then you want to strategically use loans, use credit, use liabilities to grow your business by knowing your numbers and tracking your cash flow and making sure that your revenues far exceed your expenses and the amount that it will take for you to repay your loan.
Excellent. Absolutely. And that's still lessons that I'm kind of learning, getting the revenue up. Um,
Hmm.
I'm getting there though. So another thing that we talked about during the pre-podcast was that you are a millennial, same as
Yes,
me,
yes.
and I actually did a video, one of my alfrescos about millennial business owners.
Mhm,
And that was more of like a one-way conversation, me to the camera and hopefully to the audience. But
mhm.
I also, since I have another one on, I would like to ask you, what are millennial business owners doing right?
What are we doing right? Well, we take technology seriously, but we also have not lost our common touch. So we still talk to people. We still pick up the phone. We still understand the importance of emails and grammar and punctuation. Um, but we also understand that we need to implement tools. We know how
Mhm.
to build AI into certain systems, but not rely on AI heavily. But that also came with us, learning how to write when we were in school, which I don't think they do that anymore.
The whole cursive argument, I've heard it. I honestly, I don't know where I fully stand on it because don't put pen to paper too much, but I do
Mhm,
type. And it's funny that you mentioned like the grammar and the punctuation because I fall into this trap that any grammar check or whatever just hates me for. And that's doing the double space
uh-huh.
after the end of a sentence, whether it's a
Please stop.
period. Please stop.
Please.
I can't help it. It's muscle memory.
Oh my god. You didn't even learn how to type on a typewriter. I bet you use Mavis Beacon. It is no reason for you to use Mavis Beacon took two spaces. There is no reason to use two spaces. It has driven me nuts since I was in like the fifth grade.
So
Stop.
so I'm an elder millennial, right on the line of X and millennial, and I learned to type on a DOS-based system using Microsoft Works. So
Okay.
I guess I'm a grandpa compared to you. Uh,
It's- So no, okay. I used a typewriter as a kid.
okay,
Um,
I did
'cause-
as well.
okay. A typewriter, you needed two spaces. And you needed the little line so that your word could carry to the next line because you needed to format the things.
Flappy
Yes,
carriage across the way. Yep, yep, had to do that.
yes. And then one day God created the computer and word processing systems. And what happened, so I used to do newsletters for church and for school a bit. And when you did the triple columns or you put pictures in them and you did the word wrap with the full justification, it would spread the letters out and make it go
Yes.
across the whole thing. It drove me nuts. Um, but what I started learning is those two spaces would like make it worse.
Okay.
And I got into arguments with my grandmother about the double space because she was a professional and she grew up on the typewriter. Two spaces was necessary. That's how you could tell when one sentence ended and the next one started. And I'm like, yeah, but grandma, we got computers now. Like they do the thing where they spread it out for you.
That was a massive challenge. I had to deal with that as well, being a tech guy, being the family's IT person, essentially.
Uh-huh.
When I got my grandma her first computer, she typed on it like it was a manual typewriter. She used the mouse like it was a manual typewriter, and here's this sweet little old lady at 80 something years old, and she is pounding on this thing like you would not. I I had to take the mouse away from her. I had to get her a trackball, okay?
Uh-huh. I remember those.
I had to get her a trackball, and I'm like, "Okay, so grandma, here. What you do is you move the ball where the pointer exactly right. You move the pointer right, then you take your hand away, and then you can beat the hell out of that button." Because
It,
what she would do is
I,
she would hit that button on the mouse, and the cursor would go all the way over
grandma was triple clicking.
without intending to. Absolutely, it
Yeah.
was
See, I didn't have those problems because my grandmother was pretty savvy. Um, yeah, so she taught me, wow, I'm going to pretend like she taught me things. I'll give her credit, I guess, before something randomly hits me. But I can't imagine. I don't think I grew up around anybody who didn't know how to use a computer when I was a kid, just because I grew up in an office setting.
okay.
So I was surrounded by computers from like the age of 6.
That's interesting because I have noticed working in the IT field, working through the different tiers, that there is still, even to this day, a variety of comfortability with
Mhm.
computers.
Yes.
And there are some who are extremely comfortable, maybe too much so. They kind of have that little Dunning-Kruger effect where it's like, I know this, but they maybe don't know it as well as they think they do. But
Right.
I've also dealt with people who were like deathly afraid, and they've been in the corporate environment for decades and sometimes not even.
Yeah.
So it's really to see the vast spectrum of
Mhm.
technology awareness
Mhm.
really kind of helped me change my own assumptions. And that's kind of what I want to kind of bring up next is that what about what assumptions about work are being challenged by millennials, do you think?
Okay. So by millennials. Um, okay. So first of all, listening to you talk, it took me to my children. I have middle school, high school age kids, and they use Chromebooks, and Chromebooks don't have any like real software. There's no processing systems on them. So they actually aren't learning how to use a computer. They're learning how to use the internet,
Right.
which is completely different. Um, what I will say about the millennial generation is that we still do both.
Mhm.
S- So Google Sheets, not gonna happen. I refuse. Like, no.
Fair.
It's okay when you are making a list of numbers and putting a sum at the end, cool. But to actually do a thing, no. I need the processor. I need Excel because Excels. I need sum ifs. I need pivot tables. I need indexes and VLOOKUP, XLOOKUPs. I need the things. And Google Sheets does none of that. So I think the thing that millennials do well is that we know when we can rely on internet-based systems versus when we need to go old school, when we can have our files in the cloud versus when we need to have a file cabinet or our notebooks with the tabs because we know how to do both.
We have a foot in analog and we have a
Right,
foot in digital.
right. And that's what we have that the generation before us didn't have and the one after us doesn't understand. Because I would love to see a 20-year-old file something chronologically.
Without having to go to a filter or something that like
Right,
actually physically move things.
right. Or put these names in alphabetical order by last name. And you have juniors and thirds and
Yeah.
double last names. Go ahead, let me see you do it. I would love that.
Hyphenated and
Right,
not hyphenated double last names. It all depends on personal preference, which is fine.
right. But it matters when you're filing things. But see, I learned how to file. I'm sure you did too.
So, little aside, little story. When I was in the Navy is a really weird place because it's one of those things where you can be bored out of your mind for weeks at a time and
Mhm,
then have an hour of just pure sweat pouring adrenaline coming out from everywhere.
mhm,
And one of the things that I did in conjunction with filing is that I filed all of my music. And what I
mhm,
mean by that is when I was in, it was still during the days when your music library was song title,
mhm,
unknown, 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 unknown. Okay.
mhm.
Because the meta tags were not put in correctly and all that, whatever the
Yes.
reason, because you're downloading this stuff, not quite legally. But that's
Uh,
what
th-
my music
I never downloaded for the record for the internet. I never downloaded anything illegally.
I think the
Go ahead.
statute of limitations is cleared, but you know what? That's fine. I cannot always say that I walked on the right side of things, but that's neither here or there. But what I did do was because I was so bored, I organized my music. I had folders for artists by album,
Mhm.
and it was great currency because when you're in the middle of the ocean, you can't like get things.
Right.
So you would work little side deals while you're on the ship, like,
Uh-huh.
hey, this for that, whatever. And my selling point was like, hey, do you want to go through my music library? And everybody would be like, oh, all those, no, 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 no. I'm like, no, 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 no,
Right.
no. Take a look at this folder. And they would open it up and see how everything was so meticulously organized.
Yes.
And let me tell you, that took an entire deployment to do, a
Ages.
whole
Yes.
6-month deployment to do.
Yes.
But people were so appreciative.
Mhm.
And now your music is, well, it's
On
probably
Spotify.
streaming. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Right. So when I was a kid, I did not download illegal music, but I did buy bootleg CDs from the
Okay.
corner store and from the hairdresser. It is what it is. Um, and my Windows Media Player, you upload your music so that you can listen to it while you're working. And yes, none of them came with labels, titles,
No.
artists. It took forever, but I did it. Put the little back of the CD case, lean it up against the monitor, start click clacking away. Um, but the first time I actually bought a CD and the data did automatically populate, oh my God, it was like life changing.
Right. Absolutely.
And it even had like the cover art was
Yeah.
already there. It was so nice.
And then when you were taking those MP3s and you made your own compilation CD or whatever, and all those tags were right, some of the cars, some of the more modern cars, if you put that CD in, the little art
Mhm.
would come up on the screen as well. The first
Uh-huh.
time I experienced that, I was like, wow, that's cool. And I totally did not crash by seeing that.
Yeah, I didn't have a modern car. I had an '85 Pontiac Bonneville Brougham.
My first car was an 83 Buick Regal. So, but when I got more modern cars later on and you pop that in, I did get to see that, which was really neat. So do you think now that millennials are in their mid to late 30s and sometimes in my case 40s, are you seeing them shifting away from hustle culture, or is that still very much in vogue?
Okay, so the stage that we are in right now is we are waiting for people to get out of our way. Because truth be told, Gen X, eh, they don't really do much. They worked. The generation before them owns everything. They run everything. They're the ones that have all of the connections. They have all of the property. They're like the multi you just turn on your TV. They're all there. Like all of them. The generation after them is pretty quiet. Every now and then somebody pops up like, "Hey, a guy." But then millennials, we're just like, "Okay, y'all done yet? Like, can we fix the thing? Because y'all are in the way. Like, I don't even understand why you do it like this. Like, dude, there's an app for that." Was really real. Um, and that's what I see across business owners as well. Like, yes, we absolutely have hustle man culture with us. We absolutely know how to make money. Like, I was a Uber before Uber was a Uber. Like, I I learned how to hustle up some grub if necessary. We learned
Right.
how we shoveled sidewalks. We delivered newspapers. We swept out people's shops. I learned how to braid as a kid, so I could braid the guy's hair for basketball and get a couple of dollars while I was living on campus. Like we learned how to make things happen.
Yeah.
Uh, we got that from our parents, from the generation before us, but Then we started learning how to do things more efficiently. And so now, like, we still have the hustle culture, but we know, like I said earlier, we know when to let AI run the thing for us, when to rely on the internet versus when we have to roll our sleeves up and get our hands dirty. So we're not sorting long lists anymore. No, probably not doing data entry anymore because of all
Not
of
to the
the
same scale. There, I mean, data still has to somehow get somewhere, but no, I get what you're saying.
yeah, we have OCRs, the
Yeah.
little optical, whatever the C stands for, reader things.
One of my business partners, he's working on an app using OCR to scan in a business card
Mhm.
so that he doesn't actually have to have somebody's he could just be like, "Hey, show me your business card." Snap. And
Right.
not only does it put it into his CRM, it actually goes out
Mhm.
and kind of cyber stalks them a little bit with all open information, obviously. But
Uh-huh. Which
it
means
will
all of the information.
seriously.
But continue.
Yes. And it gives him talking points. It gives him talking
Mhm.
points. And so instead of just being like, what do you do? Here's a card. Okay, I'll see you later. It's what do you do? Let me see your card. And oh, I see you might have a pain point in blah. And then
Right.
that starts a conversation. And it doesn't
Mhm.
necessarily have to be right there at that networking event. It could
Mhm.
be later when you're sending that connect request on LinkedIn. And in that note, you say, "Hey, we met here and I noticed that you have a problem with blah. Do you want to talk
Right.
about it?" And it creates that system that is now not fully cold, not fully
Mhm.
hot, and a little bit better than warm. And
Right.
I think we're going to see more systems going toward that, not
Yes.
necessarily his particular app, but we'll
Mhm.
see things like that.
So what you just described is what we call an executive assistant. That's literally the person where you shoot them the contact and they do all of the research and compile your talking points, shoot it back to you so that you can, flow seamlessly. Like, hey, I know you. I know everything about everything. It's because you have an assistant doing the
Yeah.
things for you. What technology is now doing is it's not going to get rid of our executive assistants. Instead, now instead of like my EA sending me information, my EA is now focused on managing my systems and making sure everything is connected and everything is talking to each other and just ensuring that there are no bottlenecks and nothing is stuck in any of the processes. So we still have the same, like we're still doing the same thing. We're just relying on different tools and it's less person heavy. So I don't need to say, hey Meg, what's up? Can you Google this person? Tell me how many children they have. What state are they from? Do they like the Ravens? I no longer have to do that,
Right.
but she'll go into our client management system and double check, make sure everything is complete and accurate. Make sure that the emails went out, make sure that the jobs got assigned to the right people. But now she can focus on our data and not necessarily the data entry. It's fun.
Absolutely. And I think that having that technology is what is getting us toward that sustainable type of system.
Hmm.
And we've been seeing a rather interesting decade. So what do you think that the sustainable growth looks like right now and what it could potentially look like, let's say 5 years from now?
I have no idea. Um, I don't know. No, because things are interesting at the moment. Um,
The stereotypical and probably wrong Chinese proverb, may you always live in interesting times.
yeah, no, thank you. I miss boring. I miss when things were relatively normal and when we could predict the next 5 or 10 years. The trajectory that we're on, like the slope with the way systems are learning, it's and there's so much that we don't know. Plus, I think most people are somewhat aware of the energy and the natural resources that AI takes away from people. So like the a lot of I've read articles saying that water systems are being contaminated because the power centers use so much water. I've and so on one hand, if we had unlimited resources to feed AI, I think it would be impossible to plan 5 or 10 years because the curve would be more 5 to 10 months where everything is shifting, like dynamic shifts every 6 months. But because we are limited by natural resources, we right now are in a very difficult stage to predict anything when it comes to that, which is why I'm happy that I am in accounting at the moment because it's nice and stable and debits and credits will never change and they have nothing to do with whether or not the computers work anymore because I can still pull out a journal and go back old school the way I learned how to do it. Um, I
Yeah,
don't know.
I and it's interesting because you also have a little bit of competition, although I personally don't think it's that much competition because of how unstable it is. And of course, I am talking about crypto.
Uh-huh.
It's something that I don't ignore, but I also don't plan with it. Like
Okay.
my portfolio does have crypto in it,
Mhm.
but I'm not going after specifically Bitcoin specifically, and I'm definitely don't think I have any meme coins in there because that's just
I do.
I, I might I honestly I don't know. Like I do an ETF on that one because when it comes to
Oh.
crypto, I'm just like I know people think you're gonna be something, and there are a lot of pressures to have it be something, but there's also so many more scams. There are so many more problems with it. Like anywhere where you get currency, you get crime, obviously. But
Yeah.
it seems with crypto, you get more, bigger, which makes it less stable.
Okay, so my take on crypto, I am not a finance person, first of all. I am an accountant. Um, Crypto is based off of speculation,
Hmm.
so it's very heavy on supply demand. And I know they delete tokens, they create new tokens, and when demand is very heavy for a particular coin, the price skyrockets. And when everybody realizes uh like the whales are dumping, then the price drops. And whoever is left holding the coin loses. And
Yeah.
we see that happen quite a bit. It happened with the Dogecoin. It happened with the Trump coin. It happened with the the Pepe, which is the little froggy thing on it,
Oh, what
and Shiba Inu, that one too.
Shiba Inu, and there was that one uh the Hawk Tuah coin, which was
Y-
one of the
Yes,
funniest ones as well. How it started and how it predictably ended.
right. But I mean that's pretty much how the meme coins work. But the meme coins don't work much differently than Bitcoin or ETH.
Yeah.
Bitcoin and ETH are more stable because they have like, blockchains and all. I am not a crypto person. Do not call me for crypto advice. But
Me either. like I said, what I have versus what I put into it,
Mhm,
like I said, it's a line item, and that's about
mhm.
it to me.
So, my play around money, like the money that I would take to the casino, that's the money that I have in my crypto account. Um, and I refuse to invest in any fund or put my money any place where the managers are investing in crypto. But
I,
that's the way I feel.
yeah, I was once talking with a finance guy, not in a professional capacity, just we were talking, just kind of shooting the breeze a little bit, and I have that same philosophy when it comes to crypto or gambling, is that, only put the amount of money you're willing to lose. And he looked at me as like, I don't understand that. There is not a single dime that I am willing to lose. And it's like,
Mhm,
okay, no, that's fair.
mhm,
That's absolutely fair. But if you do have the type of play money, even if it's $5 or $10 just to see what it can do, I would say
mhm,
that, again, not financial advice. Your situation may vary, but people have taken risks and they have come out on top. There are people who've taken risks and lost everything.
yep, I refuse.
And that's all right. Enough on the crypto stuff. I thought that was a nice little avenue to take down, just because it did seem like, like I said, it's not a direct competition to what you do, but you're talking about more of the stable type of
Mhm,
older school systems that have worked for hundreds of years and
mhm,
sometimes also broken every so often during that time
yeah.
as well. But we haven't really seen it break quite like this has. So let's get back to like systems.
Wait, wait, hold on.
Oh
Before we go back to that, I have
yes,
to say something that's
absolutely.
educational and not controversial because it's the truth, but people aren't going to like it. So the difference between accounting and finance is today. Accounting is yesterday. In accounting, we look at your historical numbers and we project tomorrow based
Okay.
off of what you have historically done. Finance is focused on tomorrow. Finance looks at the market attitudes, market trends, whether the little candlelight thing is going up and down. And finance just throws all of that money on black. They find new opportunities to bet on new things. Finance always breaks the system. Finance is designed to find ways and loopholes to break the system. Crypto is one of them. The other one is where they're like doing the betting on like random things, like will the sun come up at 6:01 or 6:02? I don't remember the name of the thing, but it's a thing that's happening.
You're talking about
Fine,
like the poly markets, the Kalshis, things like that.
yeah, that
Okay.
stuff. Finance guys, always, always. They break the thing, and then the accountants have to come in, and we have to clean the thing up and create new rules and new mechanisms for valuation. So, no, you cannot say that this stock is worth $1 million just because tomorrow you think it will be. You have to value it at what you actually paid for it, which is what we call historical cost. So yes, I say this because I am not a finance person because I do not break things. I value systems
Okay.
and rules and debits and credits and not like the wild things that the crypto people do. Like y'all have fun, but no.
That's fair. And speaking of breaking things, what systems do you think break first as companies grow?
um the the owner is the
Mm,
first one that breaks. Um because like I said initially, you are limited by your capacity. So when you grow, you always hit like that glass ceiling, and it's very scary to break through because that first hire is the scariest thing in the world because now you're taking on somebody else's security and livelihood, and now they're dependent on you. But it's necessary sometimes to expand capacity and to offload some of your responsibilities onto other people so that you can get bigger. And that is the first thing that breaks in a small business is when do I need help? What kind of help do I need? It could be something as simple as somebody like yourself, where you've had an Excel spreadsheet that's been working for you for the last 10 years, but now you have so many transactions that you can no longer keep up with it. So now you need to outsource your bookkeeping.
Yeah.
That is an example of I need help. Or here's a contract. And I know I took business law in college, but I've never seen this many addendums or this many sections 1.2a subtitle 3. I need someone else to come look at this with me to make sure I'm doing the right thing. So the first system in any growing business that breaks is the owner because you have to know when and who to bring in for help.
I I agree with that. And one thing that I will say is when I was younger, I'm old enough to have had a checkbook, like an
Uh-huh.
actual checkbook with a ledger in it. And
Yes.
I remember having to fill that out and hating every second of it, and then not, and
Mhm.
then getting into trouble, then trying to
Uh-huh.
build a spreadsheet. And I used a spreadsheet for a very long time.
Mhm.
And I was even using a spreadsheet well into owning a house, which I probably shouldn't have done. I probably should have had better software at that point to track the ins and outs of because that's
Mhm.
the other thing is that I don't think enough people, and they're certainly not teaching this in schools, realize that we are kind of businesses in of ourselves.
Yes.
And that when business owners create a business, they don't just pull from the business whenever they want to.
Right.
You know, if you get an SBA and you're given, $200,000, $500,000, whatever your initial business is worth,
Mhm.
you can't just say, "Okay, I've got this money. I'm going to go buy a new Lexus." You
Right.
can't really do that. Some people do,
Mhm.
and that's when they get
Mhm.
into trouble.
Yes.
But the first thing you need to do in your business is then pay yourself. And I don't
Mhm.
think that that is expressed enough to people.
Yes. So that goes back to cash flow. Um, because yes, you have your money ins and outs, but you also have your household ins and outs. And you always have to make sure that your household is taken care of first. Yes. Um, I have I have myself and a lot of other accountants that I know have fallen into the trap of not being able to make payroll because there's not enough to pay me. I have to take care of my people. I have to pay my
Yeah.
software or my rent, and there's nothing left for me. Or I have to pay off that credit card from the tax software that I just bought. Tax software is ridiculously expensive. Um, but yes, uh, I I still use Excel for my household budget. Um, I like the way I do it. But I also have an app that helps me track because
Okay. So you have a hybrid solution.
yeah, I do I do both. Um, but see, that goes back to the millennial in me. Part of me has to I still have folders that have bills in it. I also have Google Drive that has folders in it. There's a whole thing. Um, but yes, you as a person, you are a business and you should treat your household expenses as such. Revenues, expenses, cash flow, money in, money out. Stay positive. Um, just like your business.
Right.
And just like your business, you take out a loan to buy your house to buy a house to increase your assets. You leverage liabilities to increase your assets. That works for business too.
Right. Absolutely. Um, and not just like your home, but there's a lot of things that, I talked about credit traps earlier, but at the same time, there are certain things that you just need to, in the world how it is right now, you do have to buy a car without a loan.
I knew you were going to a car.
My cars are paid off, thankfully.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it's to and they're old cars. I don't I'm not going around driving around in a brand new Audi every year because to
Mhm.
me that just I I couldn't do it. But yeah, to if I needed a car tomorrow, like
Mhm.
my car just gets completely totaled and uh let's say it's my older one that's worth absolutely nothing and the insurance doesn't give me anything for it. I would absolutely have to take a loan out even for a very used car.
Mhm.
It's just the way that it is.
So you go to that credit union that you've
Yep.
established a relationship with, and they give you really, really, really good auto loan rates. And then you don't get taken advantage by the dealership. You get your pre-approval. You run your numbers first. You
No,
know your budget.
no buy here, pay here lots. Yep, nope.
No, not compris, acquis, pagi, acquis. No, no, you run your numbers, you go to a credit union. The credit union will tell you how much they are willing to lend you. Now you know how much car you can buy.
Yep.
Then you go to the dealership. Now, if you have A1 credit, is it possible that the dealership could beat the loan from the credit union? Absolutely. It is very much so possible because they have kickbacks and like different promotions if you're buying
Yeah,
a new vehicle.
if you're going during certain times of the year,
Right.
there are different promotions. When unfortunately 9/11, when that happened, there was what, months, maybe a year or so, where dealerships, even on lower credit scores, were giving 0% financing.
Mm, I was too
And
young.
I I wasn't too young, but I was too broke to take advantage of that. At that point, I was cruising around in a 1985 Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme.
Oh, that was the car back then. That
Uh,
was like it. A Cutlass? What?
uh, let me tell you, that car was the absolute definition of a bucket. The previous owner did not take care of it, and it was the color of puke inside and out. It
Yeah,
was
well, I was cruising around on the mass transit. I was on the bus.
that's fair.
So you was doing better than I was in high school. So
Yeah, I was again elder millennial.
younger millennial for everyone that's watching.
All right. So I want to talk about one more thing here, and that is kind of modern work now.
Mhm.
Because we have seen a shift. It's one that's being fought against by a number of different people, but I think that the pandemic actually exposed different ways of doing business, some good,
Mhm.
some not so good. And so I want to get your take on like what outdated work habits do you think are disappearing?
Okay. So I've actually been able to work remotely since 2012. I used to do tax returns from the trunk of my car. I
Okay.
had a portable scanner, portable printer, the little outlet in the back,
Hmm.
and I could do the whole completely in the cloud from 2012.
Nice.
The thing about the pandemic that made me the happiest, because I already had a Zoom account, I already had a Google Voice number, I already had a VoIP phone system. I already had all of the things, but it made everyone else now accept the way that I was doing business because clients still expected for me to come to their office. Clients didn't feel comfortable having Zoom meetings before the pandemic. So thank you for that. Um, the way some of the things that are not coming back, paper is not coming back. We are not going back to the days of having folders and folders and folders of tax returns in a file cabinet. That's not going to happen. Those notebooks that I used to love putting together, where I had all of the clients' bills and receipts and everything, that's not coming back for most industries. Um, construction still does a lot of paper just because it's guys in the field, and the a lot of them are starting to switch over to tablets and have more management systems, but they're still very reliant on paper systems. Automotive is still paper heavy, so there are some industries, but for the most part, paper is gone. Uh, the fax machine. I have a fax number, but it comes through to my email. Why do I have a fax number? Because like once every 15 months I have to send a fax, and it's easier to just pay for it once a year and not have to think about it than to go find a Staples or a library to try to fax from. And so I don't know. It's a thing. That's the millennial in me. Um,
Well, not just the millennial, but I have noticed that certain government agencies still uses fax, but they
yeah,
use it in the same way that you did, is where it goes to their email and then it goes back
yes.
out. It's like, why do we have this middleman in between, this fax service in between? And the reason is
Accessibility is the answer.
accessibility, and I think a little bit of security, which is weird because email is a lot more secure, especially now because everything
So
is
you
signature based.
remember when I said the millennials, are like waiting for an entire generation to get out of our way. That generation uses fax machines. So we still have fax numbers because of that generation. When they go away, like we will break it down so you push a button and it goes from my inbox to your inbox. And
Right.
that'll just be what it like we'll just be sharing documents all over the place. There will be no more of that.
You also talked about how younger generations, and not us, because we, again, we learned how to write. I can write my name, in
Mhm,
the air and all that. How younger generations aren't learning to write, and so they can't sign their name. And there's something to be said on that. However, on credit cards, we were always
mhm,
told sign the back. I have not
mhm.
signed the back of a credit card in, oh boy, uh
Me either.
25 years or something like that, because nobody ever checks, A,
Uh-huh.
and B, even if they checked, I worked in retail. I'm going to age myself right now and say I worked at Circuit City and I was not a handwriting expert in
Right,
any stretch of the imagination. So I could look at that and I could look at the receipt and be like, sure,
right.
okay. And I think that the way that we're seeing documents created now, whether it's through
Mhm,
Adobe or PandaDoc or VeriSign or whatever service that you use, that there can be more accountability and more
mhm.
proof with digital signatures
Yes.
that you are the one who wanted
Mhm.
that to happen. And so
Yeah.
the writing aspect is like, there's still places that will only take what's called wet ink signatures.
Yes. Mortgages.
Mortgages is definitely one of them. Although a lot of my documents leading up to this, and again, this is back in 2012,
Mhm.
a lot of the documents leading up to that to authorize certain aspects
Yes,
of credit checks and all those were digital.
but your closing docs had to be wet.
Those had to be wet signed,
Yes.
and boy, was that an experience.
Uh-huh.
It's like, "Ah, come on, end this
Yeah,
already." But I do
but
see that the future of signatures and the future of writing doesn't necessarily have to be pen and ink, and I
mhm.
don't necessarily see that as a negative.
So that's when that opens up a whole nother because two-factor authentication
Yep.
is, definitely a thing. We love it. We enjoy it. I have it turned on everything. You should do the same. But
Got
then
my
it
YubiKey
also
key right here.
but then that also takes you into the next part of, some people like the government is very heavily relying on you uploading a picture of your ID and then doing the video
Mhm.
verification to prove that it's you. But then that turns into creating a database where now your likeness and all of your information is there. So now everybody has access and including Big Brother. Um, yeah, so it turns into a whole thing. I do believe that we are probably going to be chipped one day. We're already chipped. It's just the chip is a cell phone. Um, whether that stays external, which I hope. But
There have been people who have been chipped.
uh-huh, yeah.
That is,
So
and in my personal view, like I said, SD Tech. Tech is in the name. I have been a
uh-huh,
tech head since I was like 8 years old. There is nothing on this planet, no access, no money, no anything that would ever, ever, make me want to put an NFC. Like I love NFC on cards. I love that.
uh-huh,
I love the convenience of it. I will never put that under my skin,
uh-huh.
and it's
I,
not because of religious concerns. It's not because of I'm scared of needles. I'm not, even though I don't have any tattoos or anything like that. It's no,
right.
just the sheer idea of it.
But
No.
I don't disagree with plus I don't know if you ever saw what's it called? The I forgot, but they put the chip in and a button explode. Like goodbye.
Oh,
No thank you.
Kingsman.
Kingsman, yes.
Yes.
Like, no, we're not doing that. But it might not even be that's why I say it might not be inside you. It could be like a Fitbit. I mean, they've been working on the technology for years now. They we are literally working on the technology where we are carrying around our little mini tracking device with all of our
Mhm.
money, our identification, with literally everything on it. Right now, it's your cell phone because it's
It's right
convenient.
here.
Right. But now it's a watch. Like, how many people have smartwatches? You can do everything from your cell. I refuse. Um,
Or a ring, because it could be a smart ring as well.
it could be a ring, like, and that will make people feel more comfortable, I suppose. Uh, I don't know, but I do think credit cards will be a thing of the past. Because I'm watching that happen now. Because I have every card I have a virtual card on my phone. Um,
Well, and
email,
and and as far as that is concerned, like not the idea of credit cards. Those that will still exist,
yes,
and I personally think that credit cards are a much safer way to pay for things
yes,
because you said cash is king, but when cash is out of your hand, you don't have it
hmm
anymore. But with a credit
right,
card, you are not liable for a single purchase you do not make.
Right.
And I saw a video on this from one of the greatest scammers, one of the greatest con men of all time, Frank Abagnale. You know that?
Hmm.
The guy
Yes.
based off of
Catch me if you can.
there you go. Yep.
Yes.
And he did a video talking about that. And I mean, this is a guy who knew the ins and outs of the financial system better than anybody
Yes.
ever. And
Hmm.
he's saying no cash,
Hmm.
no debit cards, no checks,
Hmm. Hmm.
credit cards.
Yeah. So I do not have debit cards for any of my accounts, which is also why I don't use Cash App. Like if you want to send me money on Cash App, I can receive it. And I typically use that money to send to my children for like the little ins and outs. But I refuse to connect my debit card to anything, for one. For two, whenever I am talking to my business owners, if you do write checks, like if you use checks to pay vendors or if you're still processing payroll manually, which we do a lot of construction accounting. So once again, they're paper heavy because it's a bunch of like older guys. We set up an account specifically for payroll or specifically for those vendors. So whenever you are writing a check, you move the money from your operating account to the account that you're writing the check from. That way you limit your losses to what's
Yep.
actually available. Because if somebody wipes a check, they can wipe out your entire business. And
Yeah.
even if you get that money back, it could take weeks or months for recovery if you get it. And if you're stupid enough to have more than $250,000 just sitting in a checking account, like you're SOL, you out of luck.
Yeah. So basically you're compartmentalizing your money and knowing where exactly how things go in and out. I absolutely agree with that. Um, and I think that's also another lesson that is typically taught the hard way.
Yes, it is. I've dealt with a lot of fraud with so my main focus is nonprofit and construction clients in addition to like your typical small businesses which aren't really that sophisticated. And almost all of them have experienced some kind of fraud just from having the debit cards and having just like general access to their operating account number instead of limited it. Yes. But first thing the JBA does is we come in and we put some internal controls in place so that we don't have to worry about that. And that little stampy, the little rubber stamp with your little signature thing on it, that you use to stamp the things, yeah, that goes in the trash because we don't do that.
Nice. Nice. That's awesome. Okay. So, Crystal, I do want to thank you for being on the show, and I think that this has been an absolutely amazing conversation, and I think there's a lot of takeaways from this. But that one of the biggest ones is that growth is not necessarily just by doing more, but
Right.
having that visibility, that structure, that clarity that
Hmm.
actually makes you have the uh, the better decisions.
Yes.
Um, so, like I said, thank you for here. And before we do wrap this up, I like to have my guests do a couple of things. And the first thing is, where can people find you?
Okay. So you can call or text us at 410-645-6500. Texting because I'm a millennial. And our website is www.jbamd.com. And we also have pages on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram under Journey Business Accounting.
Awesome, awesome. And the second thing I like to have our guests do is, since this is a business oriented podcast, just for the business owners who might happen to be listening
Mhm.
and who knows that they are growing, but also feels like the numbers, the systems, the decisions are starting to get heavier than they used to be.
Mhm.
What final words of wisdom would you leave with them?
Well, first of all, call me. I can help. Uh, but essentially, you just don't wait until you're overwhelmed. Start paying attention to your business now. Stop carrying everything in your head. Get it down on paper. Step back, look at it, get your finances together, know your numbers, and build them into every decision that you make. And try to create some routines for yourself so that you aren't just, out here saying, trust me, bruh, before you make a decision. Like actually make some decisions that are based on facts and on reality. And like your financials is your that's your biggest tool. It tells you where you've been, how you got there, and where you can go. So use your numbers and know where you are so that you can make better decisions.
Awesome. I think that's definitely something that everybody should hear. And for everyone else watching or listening, if this conversation made you think differently about your numbers, your workflows, or systems behind your business, that is the point. That is the point of this podcast. Is the point of these conversations, and that sustainable growth is not just about working harder. So, uh, I want to thank everybody for tuning in to Stack and Startup. If you enjoyed this conversation, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. You can find us on YouTube and anywhere you get your podcasts to follow along as we continue to explore business and technology from a different perspective. Lastly, if you want to support these conversations directly, you can become a patron at patreon.com/stack and startup. Until next time, keep building the future of work.